Three,
two,
two, one.
one. Monkey bars. Hello, everybody, guys, gals, monkeys, dogs, cats, turtles,
Turtles,
amphibians.
birds.
Welcome to episode 73 of
Woo!
the Thicc and
Wait,
Butter podcast. 73, I checked, I double
okay,
checked,
I
because
believe you.
I do it every time now.
Man, that means I
I don't want
mislabeled my file. I put this
to,
down
oh,
as
really?
72.
Yeah,
Casper was,
no,
oh, fuck. You're
it's
right. You're
73.
right.
It's
Because
73.
Aliens was 71, Casper was
Yeah.
72. This is
Right, well, that
73.
will make it 73.
Ah,
um, welcome to the episode. This is another spooky episode. We're talking about another
spooky.
horror movie today. Um, and a very exciting horror movie. That I'm
Not quite
sure that
as
you've
scary as
definitely heard of it.
Casper.
Yeah, not as right. Yeah, not as spooky as Casper, but it's close. But
Yeah.
before we get to that, I just wanted to mention, last episode we talked about Casper, the friendly ghost, and we also, for the other portion of the podcast, we also answered a interesting fan question regarding um, pulling 180s, big old 180s
Big old ones.
on our opinions about certain movies. That was a really interesting discussion that went on for a minute.
Yeah.
And
We had a
it was an
45-minute
interesting
discussion.
discussion. We love getting questions. If you have any questions, shoot us a text, put a comment in the Click and Butter Instagram. I might even make a post being like, "Hey, if you have any questions, leave them down here."
Yeah,
Um,
please. Yeah.
we love answering questions like that.
We're almost as good as answering questions as we are not answering questions.
Yeah. So, and so yeah, then we talked about Casper. That was episode 72. That's up on everything right now. Give that a listen if you would like to. But yeah, how are you doing,
I'm
my
feeling I'm
guy?
feeling I'm feeling pretty good. It's been a nice, comfortable week.
Uh-huh.
We hit 100 followers on our
You hit
Instagram
100
page,
followers, man. That's a
which is
milestone.
it is. It feels good.
Yeah,
We're so small still, and basically it's still just our friends, immediate friends who are listening to this, which is still very meaningful to us just to
absolutely.
have I've been this last couple of weeks been consistently getting people saying like, "Hey, I listened to this.
Right.
It was pretty cool."
That's
And
awesome.
it's nice
That's
to hear
great.
that
People are enjoying two morons talking to each other. Pretty
exactly,
cool.
yeah. It's nice to know that somebody also likes doing that.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I even forgot about that. Yeah, we hit 100. Um, there's something that I wanted to talk to you about, and of course it's Spider-Man related, but
Like the game? Like the new
no,
game that's coming out?
no. I might
The
have to do some
movie?
research while we're talking about this, but I was I want to say about 4 or 5 friends of mine, like
Mhm.
a lot, a lot of them,
Yeah.
sent me, and they don't send me a lot of movie news, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like not on, I was working that day, so I wasn't on Twitter or Instagram or anything. Did you, did you hear about this? I don't know if it's true, but there's a
Yeah.
rumor going around that in Spider-Man 3, the sequel to Far From Home,
Yeah.
apparently Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire have signed on to be in the movie.
Man, I I haven't heard a single thing about that, but that is what you hear every single time a new Spider-Man movie comes out.
Sure. And that was what I told all of them. I said, listen, I don't think this is true. I just wanted to mention it to you because
Yeah.
I was stunned by the majority of people that wanted my opinion about that.
Yeah.
My inner circle, and I was like,
I wish I knew more, man, and I would love it. It's not like I would love it if that happened. If they were all in a movie
like,
together
what the
playing,
fuck? Like, what would that even be?
like if they did some kind of
Spider-Verse?
Spider-Man
Well,
multiverse
that
thing.
already happened. Like, that's the thing,
Yeah.
though. It's just
Yeah,
like,
right.
that's just coming from the Spider-Verse thing. Bro, they're
Yeah.
already doing that shit.
Yeah.
They're already, like, why would, like, Sony would be, I mean, they haven't made great decisions in the past. I wouldn't be surprised if they did do it.
Yeah.
But, like, just having another multiverse thing because Spider-Verse was successful
You know what I
in
want?
your live action Spider-Man franchise, like, what are you doing, dude? Like,
What I want really is all of them to play Spider-Man in this art film Spider-Man movie where they just switch out
yeah,
throughout in every
sure,
scene. So,
yeah, absolutely.
what's the small guy's name? What's the littlest guy's name? The newest Spider-Man.
The one now?
Yeah.
Oh, Tom Holland.
Yeah, Tom Holland.
Yeah, well, I
I
think he's the
forgot.
best Spider-Man.
I think he's great. He did well. I think that it's just like in the past they've gotten like the character of Spider-Man kind of okay. Like Andrew Garfield kind of has like the feeling of Spider-Man, but the whole movie is so disastrous. But like the new Marvel movies with Tom Holland, they just have the whole movie right, and Tom
Mm-hmm.
Holland also nails the character of
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
yeah, yeah.
We could talk about. We have talked about Spider-Man for
if
so
I
long.
want to be completely, this is all I'll say about it.
Yeah,
If I'm no joking around,
yeah.
if that were to happen, get Andrew Garfield out of here. But I will say though, because I can't, I'm trying to think. I was like, how the fuck would that work? Like,
Mm-hmm.
but if you want to bring Tobey Maguire into the, the Marvel Spider-Man verse, make him Uncle Ben, man.
Oh, dude, that's a
How
great
cool would
idea.
that be? They haven't introduced Uncle Ben yet. From
How old is Toby now?
Tobey, I want to say he's
Is
like
he old enough?
50.
Is he
Yeah, I
old
mean, he's
enough
like
to be
50 years
paired
old.
with the current Aunt
Oh
May?
yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Yeah,
let's
absolutely.
get a look at Toby in 2020.
I
What if
just
he's just
think
dead? I would be so devastated
no,
if I
I
found
would
out he
know
was
if Tobey
dead.
Maguire is dead.
Like,
But no, I mean, I think that would be a great idea. It would be cool to like bring in Tobey Maguire, who known for being still a fan favorite amongst Spider-Man fans, and like you
yeah,
know, it
I
would be
did.
cool.
When I first looked up this Toby Maguire, the first thing that comes up is an etcanada.com. Spider-Man Studio says Toby Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and
Right.
are rumored to be in a new thing.
I
But
don't.
that is from ET Canada. I don't
Right.
know anything about that website.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. My first instinct is like, I don't think that's. I mean, crazier that Michael Keaton thing though. Remember, I thought that was fake, and apparently that's real.
So is he like as Batman in the new Batman stuff like world, or just being in the new
I think it's
Batman
a
movie?
Flash movie. Remember?
Oh right, dude, I forgot that movie
Yeah.
was happening.
Right. Um. So yeah, man. I don't know, but I would love to see. That's the only way I can see bringing Tobey Maguire into the Spider-Man. I would
It'd be
love that.
neat.
I think that would be a great. That would be cool. It'd be a cool god. They already. Well, here's the weird part, though. Here's when it gets really weird.
Yeah.
Guess who's already introduced into the Spider-Man
Yeah,
verse?
right. The James
J. Jonah
Jameson.
Jameson.
Yeah, dude.
So what? So what does that mean? Like, does that mean that Toby, well, obviously the Toby Maguire Spider-Man doesn't exist in this
Yeah.
verse, but I
What
mean,
would be
they
cool?
already kind of dabbled their feet into the Sam Raimi universe, so
Yeah. What would be cool is if they did it where maybe Tom Holland's character was projecting himself in the future, like he had anxieties about being Spider-Man.
That would be cool.
And he's playing that is played as older Tobey Maguire.
That would be really cool.
But that's like that's way too. I feel like that's way too artsy.
It's too
that's
crazy.
Like,
it's too wild.
Too crazy. Too wild. I don't think that would happen.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I have not been following like any news lately, man.
Me either.
I'm so goddamn isolated.
The one thing that I read.
It's like there's not much. The only thing I just want Dune to come out. That's like the only thing I'm kind of casually following. Really, it's really my movie news is totally dependent on like browsing through Reddit and being like,
I used to really pay attention to it, but I don't really care anymore. Unless it's like big news and shit like that, like really like massive shit. Like
I've just been so
right.
Just because we can't have the theater experience anymore, I've really enjoyed, especially with this transition with the podcast, to sort of delve into back catalogs, great movies,
totally,
and it's made me. I've been really liking that, where if you don't really, it's kind of nice. I miss movies not being in theaters, but I like not being stressed out about to keep up with all the new shit and just being like, what's a good movie that I can watch? Because I know that I'm going to find something and I don't have to watch some schlock on the screen, big screen.
Yeah, right, sure.
It's nice.
Yeah, dude, I don't know when Dune's coming out. I don't know if Dune's going to come out. I mean, I guess I don't like. Is 2021 just gonna be fucking like? I don't know. Like, is this gonna be like so many movies are gonna come out in 2021 or whatever?
See, whenever I see anything that says it's coming out in 2021, 2021 is always in quotation marks in my mind.
yeah.
Coming out 2021.
Yeah. Right.
Really, though?
Yeah, really? Really, though? I don't know, dude.
I just don't know. I feel like it could. If America can get its shit together, sure, and maybe that will be something that will happen after the presidency. But
right, when
Kanye
gets in office,
that was so crazy that Kanye was on my ballot. Kanye West was on my ballot.
That's totally right,
and I voted for him.
Yeah, Kanye 2020, baby. Who was his running mate?
Fuck.
I don't recognize that name. I don't really know.
I didn't either. You know, there was a funny one of like the independent candidates or maybe the libertarian candidates had an interesting, like the vice president running, really interesting like middle pseudonym name. It was like Lurch or something. It was like Cassidy Lurch. Big boy. I don't remember. Zach would know, but he's not here. Who's Lurch?
Lurch. Lurch.
Lurch.
What's going on your mind?
That's kind of like someone with a speech impediment. I've been recently working a lot. Me and Sean have been grinding on trying to make a comic series for Webtoons. So I've just been working 40 hours a week trying to make that happen. So cool. just a lot of working on story stuff and thinking about career, because it's interesting to work 40 hours a week and not get paid a dime for it. Yeah. And that's just kind of the place that I'm at. So it's also interesting because it's not like there's a lot of career paths right now because things are shut down. And the world is changing, and getting a minimum wage is, you got a pretty good job, but getting other kind of minimum wage jobs can just really not be worthwhile at all. So it's an interesting time. But I'm enjoying myself just sort of working on stories and projects, and
you're lucky you could do that.
Yeah, I definitely am.
like that's. Yeah, I think you should just keep doing that. I think you are extremely lucky to be able to do that. That you could just, make art. You don't have really bills to pay, or, it's nice,
Yeah. It's not going to last forever, so I'm going to have to somehow transition out of it, but for now it's okay. And that's kind of the way that, you know, a lot of entrepreneurial artist stuff works anyways, is that you work until the money runs out and then you try to figure out something else.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of how the American who is not like middle class or the 1% like has to live. It's just extreme paycheck to paycheck surfing.
Yeah, right. Yep. Yep. Exciting stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny to talk about it because I think a lot of our audience is definitely probably, you know, in their 20s going through the same shit,
Yeah,
you
man.
know, trying to figure shit out. But, um, you know, it's interesting, like, working this job that I am now. It's like, I think, like, before I was working, I, like, I didn't know, like, really what I wanted to do or think about stuff. And, like, the more I'm working, I have just, like, way more time to, like, think about, like, what I would really want to be doing, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, it's been nice in that regard where, like, I'm just I'm thinking a lot about like what what am I really interested in and like what do I want to pursue, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
man.
it's that's been pretty beneficial. It's
Yeah.
also like it's nice that the job isn't like like just you know packing meat,
Mm-hmm.
you
Something
know.
really
Yeah,
horrible.
like you know, it's not that bad. So,
What
but
what kind of things have you, when you ask yourselves those questions of what you want to do,
I
have you
think I
come to
mean
some
I think like it's
answers?
just definitely solidified that like I want to be in entertainment in some capacity. That's like the only part of my brain that like really operates in terms of like my interests and my ideas are all revolving around entertaining people and wanting to be in that field in some regard, whether that's radio,
Absolutely.
YouTube, podcasting, you know, music, anything, you know. So
Yeah.
like, I'm just kind of thinking about like I'm probably gonna start applying to like places like radio stations and like kind
Yeah.
of just like internships doing shit like that, just to kind of get my foot in the door and just learn a lot more
Yeah.
about like because I I I would love to you know start like this podcast with like kind of you know get an bigger audience and like the
Yeah.
problem with that is I don't really know how to do it. You know, I don't really know what to do. So like just learning it'd be nice to do something like that, just get some experience, learn, meet some people through doing stuff like that. So that's definitely like where my head at is at now.
Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
like places like that. Um, just I'm kind of thinking kind of practically too, and really
Yeah.
still going on. So
Right. You do have to
so
think about that.
maybe I can get into that somehow because like you know getting a PA job or something like that's like nearly impossible. You know,
Hmm.
so because these things aren't happening, especially in Pittsburgh. So like I'm kind of thinking more practically like that. But
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah,
it's been
man.
nice. I just have like more time to think, and it's still kind of brewing and kind of. But I feel better, you know, because
Yeah.
I'm doing something. I'm like, you know,
Yeah.
like I'm earning some money. You know, it's not like um I just I feel so much better than I did like a month ago, where it was just like I didn't really have much to do.
Right. You were just
So
suffering from extreme stagnation because
yeah,
there was no movement in your life at all.
yeah.
I totally
So
get
like
that.
so I totally feel better about that. Um, so but yeah, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about this boring shit, man.
Future, the way, the place we're gonna be, the person that will be in 10 years.
Nah, nah, man, nah.
Let's talk about.
I'm gonna be uh a male stripper in 10 years. That's
Yeah,
my
man.
real goal.
Well, that
Part of
is
my
in the
entertainment.
entertainment business.
Exactly. So that's what I'm really practicing at. I'm
But
trying to
Thick's OnlyFans. Open
oh
that up.
you know
Please tell me that you have an
my
OnlyFans
brain
account.
is going like 85 miles an hour. What if I I wonder I wonder if there is a subset of porn of OnlyFans where creature college people and deaf people. So maybe there's a weird fetish. Maybe I can get into that. Maybe I could be making hundreds. I could be making a lot of money. I mean, if they want pictures of, my second belly button, I will give it to them. I mean, if you're listening to this right now, and you know that there's a subset of OnlyFans porn sites that are
please give us some research on treacher porn
stuff, man. Dude, that's a market. There's feet stuff. That's
dude, there's poop stuff.
Right.
Like how far off is treacher Colin stuff?
For everything, right?
Now, would you show your treacher Colin dick for money?
100%. No doubt. I mean, if it's through the internet, sure.
Yeah.
I don't care.
How many dollars? Do you have like an exact dollar amount that you would value this?
Ooh, that's a question. How much money are you willing to get to say you're?
I mean, it's similar to the problem of like.
Are we just sending like a photo to a person, or are we like posting this on the internet so everybody can see it?
This is like a commission. This is like someone asking for like you've like made an art piece and you're just like, hey, I want to buy that. What would you price it at?
$500.
$500? That's a pretty expensive dick pic.
Well,
I don't know.
Dude, I don't want to like. I mean, like, listen, if you want it,
dude.
I'll be straight honest. I don't have an impressive penis. I don't. Yeah. It's very average. So, like I'm just saying, like you really want to see it, you're probably going to be paying a pretty good dollar because it's not like this extravagant wiener.
I like to imagine that. Also, it's funny that because it's not extravagant, you're going to price it higher. Like you've probably seen something exactly like this before, and because of that, I'm going to make you spend more money on it.
I'm teasing them, right? Because it's like, wow, it's got to be. I mean, it's gotta
something.
Be like something, like just a big old hog. And then when they pay, they get the photo. Lots of bucks,
Yeah.
Average.
Yeah. It's like I'm trying to think of an analogy for this, but it's like for like my dick pic, if someone ordered a dick pic for like a commission of my penis or a commission of your penis.
I'm a cute lady, right? And I subscribe to your OnlyFans, and I'm like, okay, gotta see it. How much would you charge? You just walk in like, what the fuck are you guys?
Yeah, she gave me a stank eye. she walked past the room. Man, I have thought about this. I've thought about it's a common topic in Reddit for people to ask, like, what is the life of a sex worker? And it's a very fascinating and complex life.
Yeah.
And I've never got to the point of considering my own prices.
Yeah. Well, okay. Put yourself in the shoes of a porn star.
Okay, like am I talking from the heart, or am I talking from me as a businessman? Am I selling my dick as a businessman, or as like this is my penis and I love it? And it's precious.
Well, if you have an OnlyFans, I would think that you're a businessman.
Okay.
On top of being that,
Okay. As a businessman, which this is not an open offer. As a businessman, I would range like a dick pic, like a low quality 2 megabyte JPEG, like of my dick. Like it's like go online, go to my shop.
Photo that's like kind of
a Snapchat. Let me say a Snapchat, like a Snapchat subscription.
Not well lit. You don't have any like there's nothing next to it for size. It's just straight up carpet.
That would be in between $4.99 and the $30 range.
$30?
Yeah, dog.
Yeah,
like, dude, can you imagine the amount of work that it would take me to take a snap of my penis, and I could sell those for $30? Imagine how many of those. And if I could sell,
that's too much money that I'm charging for.
you would sell maybe one of
Right.
your dick pics
Dude,
every month.
$500, I'll sell my fist up my ass. Like, that's $500. You're absolutely right.
I've changed.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, that was a dumb business move on my part. Whenever
but
I do my OnlyFans,
well,
I'm consulting to you.
here's the factor about your situation is that you're advertising your
Well, when I was
merchandise.
thinking, yeah, I'm specialty.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
it's a
not a
specialty
normal
merchandise.
person.
This is like the cream of the crop, like best cut of the
Right.
steak kind
Exactly.
of dick pic.
Right. Right.
I'm like the ground beef, I'm the hot dogs. I'm the ground up bits. It's just like, dude, white guy dick, average white guy dick,
right.
Pork chops, baby. That's pork chops.
Right.
I want that treat calling ribeye, dude. Bloody.
Yeah, I'll have, because OnlyFans work with OnlyFans work with tiers, right? So there's different tiers of like, for like $1, you get
it's like Patreon for porn.
Yeah, sure. Not gonna know anything about that, but you pay $1. This is my OnlyFans, okay? You pay $5. You get a shirtless photo, but kind of like, a nice angle on my second belly button, to really insinuate that aspect. $10, you get the root, the dick root. Just the root,
The root. Like the happy trail? Or like just like
the happy trail, right?
Okay. So it's like it's the beginning of your shaft, right before. Okay.
Right before you go see the whole package.
Is that what it's called? The root? I've never heard that before.
Yeah, and then we established $30 for sure would be like, not the greatest dick pic in the world.
A JPEG, quick snap pack.
And then for the full hundo, in the mirror, just holding it, posing, studio lights, any color that you want. I'll make it look like you can frame it.
Yeah. See what my $100 one, my pose would be like bent down. I have like my hand behind me where my butt is facing the camera, and it's like an undershot, and I'm looking underneath like, yo, what's up, dog? You just got the $100. You got the $100 purchase.
Your bean bags is sitting right on top.
Exactly. Yeah. So you got the bottomless pit like silhouette right along there, and you get like the little thing.
Yeah, that sounds beautiful.
And I get a nice wide angle lens, so you get the full perspective, so it's not crunched up, so you see my face. So I look like a giraffe, and I'm just stretched out really long.
I think people will pay money for that.
I think so too, and it could be an art piece. What's the highest
tier though? What are like $1,000? Something that, because every Patreon has that tier that's like, someone might pay it, but it's so insane.
Yeah, but that's usually. I see those.
I'll come to your house.
Yeah, like, dude. Yeah, that's the thing. It's just like when you start getting too much, it's like you can fuck me. That's what. Like, how much further can you go?
I'll be your gimp.
For $1,000, we can have a nice, pleasant, consensual dinner where I leave afterwards at 8 o'clock.
That's very sweet of you.
I'll bring flowers. And you have to buy me a gift.
You can piss on me for $8,000.
Dude, did you see this? This cracked me up. Maybe this might be a total disaster because it's not a good idea to retell like picture jokes like through audio.
Yeah.
But it was a picture of a cute bunny, and it said, "This is a meme." It said, how much money would you need to be able to oh my god, this is such a hard fall on my ass. I have to abort this right now.
All right.
I never saw this picture. I don't know. I knew that was going to be bad.
Jesse had a brain aneurysm.
Well, like I couldn't remember, like, because the problem is that, okay, the phrase I wanted to say is that they were saying, how much would it take to like do something horrible to this bunny?
Okay.
And it's like, would you like hurt this bunny for $1 million? And the first response was no, and the second one was, bitch, I would eat that thing raw for a Snickers bar.
That's so perfect. Yeah. Those are the two types of people in the world. People are like, no, of course I wouldn't kill that bunny. It's like, dude, I would steal that bunny. I would race him over the fire, eat a Snickers bar while I watch him getting. That's so funny, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, and the reason you made me think of that is just because you say for $8,000 I'd piss on your face. I'm not. You see, I'm the kind of guy who's not motivated.
Soundbite out. That's my new ringtone.
I want to get. There's a really good one from Casper where you said, "Raggy motherfucker."
So anyway, do you want to transition?
Yeah, dude. Let's talk about this movie. Something serious. That was quite the opening. We went from.
I mean, it's not a horrible transition since that sex is a theme.
Yeah, you know what? That's true. We could call this. Does It Follows have an OnlyFans? David Robert Mitchell. Where did that guy go? Maybe he has an OnlyFans.
Robert Mitchell OnlyFans.
Yeah, maybe that's how maybe he's sending dick pics for $30 to $500 a buck.
Who knows?
Like, I might for David Robert Mitchell, I might.
Oh no! Oh no!
I might spend $500 on David Robert Mitchell dick pic. I would consider it. I would say that. Yeah.
Just to see it, just be like, there it is.
Looks like every single one I've seen. I kind of am bummed out that I missed the Chris Evans dick pic. I wasn't able to find it.
Oh, I found it.
Yeah.
I found it.
Yeah. I'm just curious, honestly.
It's what you'd expect.
Yeah. From a man, from a specimen like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that I heard it was out there.
Yeah.
Gotta see that.
Yeah. The thing that's kind of fucked, though, the thing that's fucked is
I feel so bad for him.
I feel bad for Chris Evans, of course. But the other thing is that I couldn't find his dick pic anywhere. His one dick pic. Right. But Jennifer Lawrence, all her nudes. Yeah. You search Jennifer Lawrence nudes, first thing on Google.
Yeah, it's pretty weird that. I don't know why. I think also the Chris Evans situation was it like it wasn't a full-fledged picture. It was like it
was a background thing, right?
Yeah, it was like a background thing. Also, but I think not to get too nitty and gritty into this. A dick pic isn't very interesting. All penises kind of look the same.
Right. Well,
so it's not. I don't think the internet is clamoring for if Robert Downey Jr. put out a dick pic and be like, you wouldn't know if it was his dick or not.
Yeah, well, I mean, the nude woman body is a much more valuable commodity on the 100%.
Internet. It's way more interesting than a fucking human penis.
Which is, there's a lot of problems coded in that, but it's just how the internet works.
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I'm just more the commodification, the objectification of the woman body is the problem.
Well, I think absolutely, but I think, for sure. But I mean, it's just that's just the way the cookie crumbles. It's just there's more. I won't get into it.
Yeah,
there's more just interesting things going on.
Yeah.
There's a dick and a balls. They all look the same,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, It Follows is David Robert Mitchell's which film is it? Is it his second film that he made?
Yeah. I
Okay.
think so. His first one is called something about sleepovers.
I think it is like a rom-com or
Yeah, yeah.
something.
No, it's like a teenage thing. It looks really
Teenage
good.
romance.
I would
Yeah.
like to watch it. I've not seen it. Let me pull it up.
I want to watch all those movies, but It Follows was his breakout film.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, didn't launch him into fame because Under the Silver Lake, one of our favorite movies,
right.
did so poorly because no one knew it existed
Yeah.
that he seems to have just vanished from this planet. Um, I don't know where that is. I don't know
Yeah.
where he is. I don't know if he's making a movie. I don't know if he's dead. I don't know what happened. But in 2014, when It Follows came out, it was quite the phenomenon.
It
It was
was.
quite the
It
phenomenon,
was.
and it was kind of it's a A24 film. It's not.
Yeah. No.
I
No.
always thought it was, but I don't. It's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it would make sense that it is. It's
Yeah,
kind of the same crowd, I guess. Same kind of audience that this movie kind of
but but, but
got.
that was that
But
was that was the same
wow.
year The Witch came out, which
Yes.
was really when A24 just really
Well, it
launched
was
into
not just the
existence.
Witch. The 2014 also
It
had
was crazy. It was super crazy.
had a bunch of A24 things. I mean, that's the year that A24 kind of became big. I know like Spring Breakers came out
Oh shit!
around that time.
Yeah, that was
Doing
huge.
research, I mean, I did a paper on A24. I can't really remember the movies that kind of came out around them,
That
but
was definitely
2014
a
was an
seminal year.
interesting. 2014 was a really interesting year. I know what you're trying to say, in
Yes.
the sense that there were a lot of indie films, like for example, one of my favorite films, period, Whiplash, came out in
Mm.
2014, which was
Oh wow, really?
that was a, yeah,
Wow.
that was a very low budget movie as well as this movie. There were a lot of big, like, Under the Skin. There were a lot of, like, big indie. That was A24. That Under the Skin was
Yeah.
A24. Um, there were a lot of, like, indie hits that were coming out around that time. It
Yeah.
was definitely the first year in my existence where that I noticed the internet kind of pointed me to movies, pointed me to the
Mm-hmm.
direction of watch this movie. You know, like back then it was like the only way that I kind of heard about movies or kind of like got recommended a movie was seeing a trailer on YouTube, seeing a trailer on uh you know in the theaters. But like
Yeah.
2014 for me was the first year where I was on Twitter, film Twitter. You know, everyone was kind of tweeting about this movie and kind of like it was definitely it hit this interesting mark in our generation of movie watchers where this is definitely an important movie in terms of uh this movie cost $1 million to make. It was
Yeah.
this extremely low budget movie that garnered a big cult following kind of from the internet.
Yeah.
And that is definitely the first thing that I've been a part of. There's definitely been movies that have had cults from the internet before this movie. But it was
Right.
definitely the movie that I first was aware
Right.
of just through the internet,
It's the
social media.
it's kind of the marking now reflecting on it, especially maybe we can just say specifically for the horror genre or the
Yeah,
independent films in
yeah,
general sort of sparked A24. That was sort of the period of time that that stuff started to happen, and how it is in this current environment. That was
hmm,
sort of the beginning of this wave of
yeah,
how things are done. And it's interesting that It Follows was I don't feel like it's referenced as much anymore, which
yeah.
I feel like that's a shame. But
Maybe I have some counter arguments to that, but
right, which I
well,
think
I'll just say straight up. I think that I think this movie's great. I mean, I love this movie. I definitely enjoyed it a lot more the second time I watched it. I still have some issues with it, but I
sure.
think a lot of that just comes from like really just comes from the budget that he had and kind of what he was able to do. Um, but what this movie also did was it was kind of the start of this 80s revival, this 80s
Yeah, definitely.
style revival. And since this movie, we've had Stranger Things. We've had all of these
Yes, that's
things
very
that have
true.
kind of come out that have kind of been doing this Carpenter kind of 80s horror movie style, but which could be chalked up to this movie. Could be chalked
Yeah,
up to
that's a really good
It
point.
Follows was the first movie that kind of had this throwback line to it. But I think because why it's not referenced as much anymore is because I think there's just been some, uh, I don't know, just a lot of 80s revival stuff that have come out since then. Um,
Yeah.
Even starring Micah Monroe, the lead actress of this movie, like The
Hmm.
Guest, that came out in the same year, which is a phenomenal horror action movie that also has this 80s vibe.
Yeah.
Um, and I think so. I think that might be the reason why it's not referenced as much. Not that the movie's not great, it is,
But
but
we're just kind of burned out of the aesthetic more so.
yes, I think people are getting maybe not burned out of it, but I think there were just a lot of things coming out in this kind of Carpenter-esque style
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
around the same time. That
Sure, yeah.
like were bigger, like Stranger Things. Like Stranger Things was huge,
Yeah.
ginormous.
I think that that's a really good point. I think that that's a really good point of kind of how the history preceded it. And I still think that It Follows of this genre of revival. I mean, I love Stranger Things, but I like It Follows a lot better than Stranger
Yeah,
Things.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
And
they're
I
really different.
It's
I
a
mean,
show and a
like,
movie, right? So
not only that, like Stranger Things is kind of homage Spielberg, Christopher
yes,
Nolan
yeah,
movies.
yeah.
This is referencing like people like George Romero, like John Carpenter, definitely.
Right. Right. And
Uh,
also It Follows is a horror movie. It's like straight
yeah,
up. And Stranger Things is an adventure film with horror
sci-fi.
elements.
Yeah, absolutely. But but yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, I really like this movie. I think it's really, and I think I like it more for the fact that it cost $1 million to make.
I know.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I know.
what he was able to accomplish with this low budget is truly really impressive. I
I
mean, I've seen
agree.
the movies that have cost more money than this, indie films that aren't nearly as technically and just technically or just impressive. Period. Than this
Yes.
movie. Like I was blown away when I saw the budget. I thought for sure it was like at least five. I
I
was
know.
blown
That's
away that it was
yeah.
only $1 million.
Which is
But they
pocket change. That's like
money
pocket
the
change
budget.
that like came out of like a Bloomhouse production. They're just like,
Yes.
yeah, sure, chew on this.
Oh, Blumhouse. That's another great. That's a company that this also came out around. Blumhouse became kind of
Oh
known.
fuck yeah, that's
So like
true.
it became this. I think It Follows is just kind of been uh surrounded by. It's just been kind of covered in all these other things, kind of buried. I think
Yes.
people. I think it will. It will get rediscovered again.
I want
Yeah.
David Robert Mitchell to create a movie that everyone's like, dude, this is great.
Right.
Where's this guy been? It's just
Yeah.
like,
Right.
actually, he's been great,
Right.
making great movies
Right.
for years
Right.
now.
That's
Watch him.
probably gonna happen. I think
I
he's
feel
gonna
like,
make. I think what he's gonna do after this, or Under the Silver Lake, while it's a great movie in our opinion, it's a very controversial movie. It was a very polarizing movie critically. Um, and I
yeah,
think he might do something that's a little more straightforward, like
yeah,
It Follows again,
yeah,
and maybe that will kind of get like
pull
more
him up.
following and kind of bring this movie back. But anyway,
Yeah,
that's kind of like the history of It Follows. But do you want to talk about what this movie's about? And let's
yeah,
talk about like why this is so cool, like such a cool horror movie
right.
for us
But
in our
yes,
generation.
I think that the thing that makes this film so cool is that it's Carpenter worship, making it a
Totally.
kind of slasher film in its format, at least, but it's
Yeah.
so not a slasher film.
No.
It's really much more of a Lovecraftian horror film.
Yeah.
And the genius about this film is how it's so smart. All slasher films blend in sex and violence. That's kind of this thing in slasher movie. But in this film, it blends sex and violence, but in such a really smart way.
That's my
it's
favorite
so
thing
smart.
about this movie. Because I
Yes.
think my favorite thing about this movie is the most original aspect to it.
Yes.
Is is what the film is kind of about. This entity that may or may not be transmitted through sex, you know.
Right.
It's very
Eva called
interesting.
it an STD ghost or an STG.
Right. That's like a major thing that when this movie came out was that's what people were kind of gleaning from it, that it was kind of a representation of an STD.
Yes.
I don't really I don't know if it's that. I think it goes a little deeper than just that. But uh I but yeah, I think that's the coolest thing about this movie is the idea of it. The 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 insanely creepy idea of this thing that you don't know what it looks like. You don't know uh what it will do to you. You don't know like where it's coming from. It's just and the way that David Robert Mitchell directs this movie, a la very much like John Carpenter directed Halloween, is this sense of somebody is
Mm-hmm.
always watching,
Yep.
always following you, and you never know. Uh, one of my favorite things about this movie is you never know where the perspective of the camera. That's probably my favorite thing about this movie.
I really like that.
Is like how he plays with like maybe the shot is a POV shot of the thing looking, you know, like the last shot, for example. So there's that is such a fucking cool ass thing about this movie. I'm like, um, he kind of. It's interesting to watch this after watching Under the Silver Lake a few times,
I agree. Yeah.
because because I think I think Under the Silver Lake is is more of like an original film, like in the way that like this is truly something where you can't really pin down an influence. You know, there's nothing
Yeah.
like wrong with being like I fucking dude. I got a John Carpenter patch over there. I'm a
Yeah.
huge
Yeah.
fan. So like
Right. But
anything that's like gluing off of it, but I'm not like he does more interesting things in this movie that doesn't.
what this film is, I think you're totally right. What this film is David Robert Mitchell's very original take on that genre
Yeah,
film
right. Yeah,
of like a slasher film.
yeah.
And that was what was so great about it,
Mm-hmm.
is that we all know the form, but what if someone did something that's completely different in the
Yeah,
form, but not
yeah.
break form? Like the form is very consistent,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah,
And I think that that's a really wonderful thing, because in addition, it's not really that experimental, but
no,
it plays with your ideas of
yeah.
like what sex is in movies
Mm-hmm.
and what it could be, and goes in
Yeah,
and takes a really deep look at it and connects it with this experience of fear of this thing following you, that I think it just really it helps progress the themes of the movie in the way that is so organic and
yeah,
satisfying, that's more so than the typical slasher film that uses it more for grandiosity or spectacle. Like this film is not about spectacle
no,
at
no,
all.
no, no, no.
It's about emotions and deep themes, man. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm like, so I guess I kind of like let me look at my notes real quick, because like I also like um there's a lot that I think we can talk about, but
Yeah,
I think the first like hour of this movie is kind of just flawless. Like
I
it's just
agree.
kind of perfect. Like the
Yeah.
setup, Everything
Yeah.
about
What is the ending of the hour report? Like the last scene that
so
you would
for
say.
me, it's just like the last scene of the hour is like I guess I would just say like whenever they go to the beach house,
The first time.
yeah, the first time, that's when I kind of have like a very small issue with this movie, and that's kind of the repetitive nature of this movie could possibly have, where a lot of it is like they go to a location, they're like, all right, they're protecting her, like, where's this thing? It happens like multiple times, and I think just by like the third time, I'm like, okay, let's kind of switch it up a little bit.
Sure.
But so I think that's the only issue I have with this movie is that it can kind of feel repetitive, where it's just like constantly just kind of like hiding from the thing, and then the
Yeah.
thing shows up.
Yeah.
There's a scene like that's kind of constantly showing up, but I think the setup though, and
Like before, but the whole thing where you introduce her finding out that it's actually something's following her.
yeah,
That
right, yeah,
it's
right,
not like the guy that this boyfriend is not just crazy and kidnapping her, but
yeah,
is
yes,
like
yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
warning her that she's in danger.
Mm-hmm.
And up to the point that they meet the the neighbor across the street and go to that
Yes,
point all the way, all
yes,
this thing. Yes, I
yes,
agree. I
all of
think that
that
those all of that stuff is
is perfect.
just
It's so
incredible filmmaking.
it's
It's really
amazing.
incredible.
It's just like it's from the opening scene, dude. It is like so like you
I
can
love the opening scene of this movie. I
feel
think
the
it's one of the
carpenter
best.
ass shit in the opening scene, man. It's so cool, man. Like the way that like like I just love the camera in this movie and like how like he I can't really put my finger on it. It's just the like I said earlier, it's just like this like perspective that the camera has is really interesting. Where it's it I don't know, man. It's really
It's just
cool.
it's really unpredictable what the camera's
Yeah,
gonna do. It's really unpredictable because how you were saying earlier, you don't know what it's trying to show you a lot of the time. And
right.
there's a lot of scenes in there which I think this is part of the low budget nature, but I also think it adds to this mysticism that you have that's part of this camera experience where you just have these shots of nature or like her drowning a bug in a pool
Yeah, right.
and you're like, why
Yeah,
am I looking at this? And it
yeah,
adds this whole thing about this camera that it makes it feel sort of omnipotent and
yeah,
have its mind of its own to me.
yeah.
And I agree with you that you're just watching this, and I'm finding that he frames it so well that I always know, like with the blocking, I know what I should be looking at plot wise. I know what I should be getting at it,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm always like looking at the screen and trying to investigate it. Like, what
Yeah,
should I be seeing?
that's
What should I be
that's
seeing to
another
be?
brilliant thing about this movie is like is what you just described. There's actually multiple shots where
Yeah,
you will see something in the background. You will see something where you're like, that adds to the genius of the premise of this movie. Is that you don't know what it looks like. You don't know, what it's gonna do. All you know is that it's just gonna walk slowly towards you. That's all
yeah,
you really know. Um, and with that, you get this just automatic tension because
yes,
every frame, if you see someone in the background, if this movie works for you, you're gonna be on edge.
yeah,
Like you're just going to be. Um, I can think of that amazing shot towards the beginning where what's the main character's name?
Jay. I think it's
Jay,
J.
right?
J for
Yeah,
Jane.
right. And Jay goes on the date the
Hmm.
with the kidnapper, the guy
Hugh or
Hugh,
Jake.
yeah, yeah, right. And they're at the restaurant, and there's that great
Yes, yes,
scene
I
where
know
like
exactly what
it
you mean.
goes, and she like leans over to eat something, and the camera racks to the back to the outside, and you just see this like it's super creepy because you don't know what you're looking at. There's
Yeah,
nothing uh it's genius because we watch it again. You're like, oh, it was just standing right there.
Yeah.
When you first see it, you're like, what am
What
I
is
supposed to be
that?
looking at? Because you don't
Yeah.
know, like, it's genius. It's fucking, it's
Which
awesome.
and which during that scene too, you have the music cue, which I think is what really
Music
brings
is
this film
fucking
home,
awesome, man. Yeah,
which is
music is
similar to
badass.
John Carpenter's success, is just how well the music works with
Mm-hmm.
this. The
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the
like
music is
that.
great.
Oh, the
Great.
Disasterpiece is the guy who creates the music, and same guy who
Yeah.
did the music for Under the Silver Lake, which is
Two
another
com-
just phenomenal score.
completely different scores. We can't be
Yeah.
more different.
Yeah, like an electronic and then a classical score,
Yeah.
but this has the electronic 80s
Yeah.
vibe.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think that was one of the things that's another specific reason, being a film and music guy, which I mean you
Yeah.
are too now, or have always been really, but specifically being interested in making music at that time, and more so interested in making music when I saw this than I was in film.
Yeah.
That really, I really, this was the first film that I watched and I was like, I liked that soundtrack. And a
Sure.
lot of other films,
Yeah.
because you watch Hollywood films, it's like Hans Zimmer is fine, but
Yeah.
and all this, these great guys, all these great
Back to
guys
the
are
Future.
incredible, all these things. But the thing with Hollywood stuff is that it's not really something you're supposed to listen to.
Yeah. Absolutely. Totally. Yeah.
And but in this movie, it feels more like you're supposed to listen to
Yeah.
it because the film is so sparse. It
Yeah.
fills in those gaps,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think that that's a I love that. I love
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that
It's really
use of
cool.
space.
Yeah. It's also one of the first movies that had like it's weird that not a lot of movies since Lives like this had like an electronic score. Like it was
Yeah,
kind of rare, which is weird considering like fucking John Carpenter. Like in the '80s they were using synths and stuff like that in the '80s, but like in the 2010s and like 2000s, like not a lot of movies were like using like electronic scores like this. Like
and this was really I think the thing that changed it, which is why we have those great like
Stranger
films like
Things, incredible,
Stranger
incredible
Things,
electronic score. Yeah,
fucking the Safdie brothers films,
yeah.
all of
What a
that
trick
shit.
point there. Yeah,
Yeah, all of that stuff, why it's gotten so fucking popular now.
yeah.
I think it stems from this. I think this was a
Sure. I mean,
huge
I think it's totally.
influence.
I think so. Yeah, totally. I mean, I think just like because also the guest, the guest. I keep bringing up the guest. It's so weird the connection between the guest and this movie because the guest came out the same year, same actress,
Yeah.
has this very similar kind of like idea behind it, or it's like, oh,
Yeah.
we're gonna make this '80s flat. Like, I love that she's in both of them.
Yeah.
They're very strange. Um, but but yeah, that movie also has this like incredible electronic score. Drive could be another like movie that had an electronic score that probably influenced a lot of movies in
Yeah.
2010 too.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, the music in this movie is fucking it's so cool. It's so
Yeah.
badass. It's awesome.
One of the other things I loved about this movie is the patience that's behind it, which maybe this will lead into being I don't know if a critique of the my take on your critique of saying its repetitive nature,
Yeah,
because I think that there's a lot of truth in that. Um, and but one of the things I love about this film is how much the characters are waiting.
sure.
And
Yeah, yeah,
I like all those scenes where
yeah,
because in horror and in movies in general, what you're told is that you're supposed to keep the adrenaline going. You're supposed to keep the action movie.
yeah,
But I think what works so well in this is it adds to it because the themes of who the characters are, which are young children who don't have very attentive parents and are very stifled in their growth and creativity and
yeah,
and their development as people, which leads them to just being doing nothing and just kind of waiting to get to a point where their life can start.
yeah, yeah,
So that's
right.
kind of the theme of
Yeah,
their place in
yeah,
life.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then you also have this monster, which is so perfect for those young characters,
yeah,
where it's not really excitement that's adding into their life. It's the
Yeah.
stress and then more waiting. I think that
Right.
that's great because
Yeah.
really what you see in films, the reason we want to go see it, like we want to go see all these adventures is because you have these boring people who then some
Yeah.
cool shit happens to
Yeah.
them.
Right. Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
it's risking their lives, but
Yeah.
so is like all the superhero people. They're risking their lives. You know they're not going to die, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the same kind of thing. But in this movie, they're still risking their lives, but their lives just obviously get so much worse.
Yeah.
I
Right.
really like that about how with you just this film just has a great depiction of misery in it to me. I think that that's such a
Sure.
wonderful feeling throughout this about just
I think
how
also to that theme is like where they live, and
yes
there's a
yes
lot of interesting shots where that's a really good point. I didn't think of that, but it just leads you to think of like a lot of these. There's a theme where the characters will talk about like, oh, my parents never let me go into Detroit. They never let me go out
mm-hmm,
here. And when they're going to the towards the end of the film, when they're going to the pool, like
mm-hmm.
I don't know, I don't know what that was, but um, like they talk about like there's shots of like the decrepit houses, there's shots of like the homeless people on the street. Like I don't know, there's something interesting about like the characters kind of seeing that like through that lens of like
Yes,
misery and what they're going through in their lives around is kind of maybe kind of part of like being a product of your own environment in a weird way.
yeah,
And what I also wrote, what I love about being around this movie um and under the Silver Lake to an extent, is that he understands suburban culture like like so well, like to a point where like the characters in this movie, like I haven't seen well, there's a lot, but this movie really well depicts teenagers extremely,
yes,
especially who
yes,
live in a suburban area. And everybody kind of knows everybody. Everybody kind of like they really get like with Paul's character and Jay's character, their relationship and how they've known each other since they were kids and their like conversations and like the chemistry between all the teenagers feels extremely real. And as
yeah,
somebody who grew up in suburban neighborhoods and like kind of with this dynamic where I had like neighbors and friends that I knew and like he kind of nailed it. The way
yeah,
because there's a weird isolation that you get when you live in places like this where like there's not a lot to talk about.
yeah, exactly. And I think
You kind of just
exactly,
not a lot to talk about. You know,
and
you
that's one
grew up with these people. You know, like
and that's one of the things that when I was a kid, I even in movies, I had a sense for this where watch even when I was a kid watching movies, I had a sense for this. That I felt it didn't relate to me my experience of being a kid when I
sure,
saw these films like Steven Spielberg films, which are very accurate depiction of childhood.
yeah,
Like I'm not claiming that, but that they show these suburban towns, like maybe Jaws, for example, that are full of life, it's
yeah,
intermingling
right,
and things like
right,
that.
right,
It's that those exist. I believe in
yeah,
that, you
absolutely, one
know.
hundred
But
percent,
that's not what my life was like at
yeah,
all. My
yeah,
life
yeah,
was more like this, you
yeah,
know. It
right,
was much higher class. I wasn't as poor as these people in this film, but it was much more like this where you had the feeling of there's not much to talk about and also just
yeah,
of the sort of calm depressive acceptance
yeah,
of my life is going to be like this forever, you
right,
know, or
yeah,
like this is
right,
just how life is and it's never going to get bigger than this.
right,
And I love that feeling
yeah,
in this film.
yeah,
I love, and it's not just that, and if you didn't do that right, the film would be so goddamn boring. But he
yeah,
hits the themes in such
yeah,
in just the right sequence.
yeah.
Just they just all click together for me.
And I
It
think
just
it's for
really
me the
well.
performances. The performances are really,
Yes.
really good on this movie. The way that like he directs this, their performances are really good.
Yeah.
Especially, I love her name's Micah Monroe, right? I'm pretty sure that's right.
That's
Um,
the lead
yeah,
actress.
Jay. I love her. I when I first saw this movie, I kind of fell in love with her, and then I
I
saw
agree.
the guest, love her in that movie. She's in like tons of other movies. She hasn't broken out yet into the mainstream. She tried. Unfortunately, she's in a really shit movie called Independence Day, Resurgence.
Oh
Uh,
no.
that was
Oh
her big movie,
no.
but she didn't do very well in that. So
Oh, that's a
the
shame.
movie's garbage. But for a time, she was like in 2014, like she was like this kind of indie princess almost. Like
Yeah.
she was like in these really
Uh,
cool indie movies.
and I've seen a little bit of buzz, a very, very small amount of buzz that she's in a movie with oh fuck, what's his name? Pompadour guy from Stranger Things.
Oh, oh, Joe Keery, the guy who plays
Yes, yes, Joe
yeah,
Curie.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, Joe Curie. Yeah.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
I haven't heard anything else about that movie, but anyways, you're totally right that she this is really I thought she was going to be like everywhere after this movie, but she just
I
really
think a
hasn't
lot of people
launched.
did. I think a lot of people did. She's also in Honey Boy. She's great in Honey Boy. That's the Shia LaBeouf
Yeah.
movie that I found to be really, really good. But yeah, she pops up in a lot of indie movies. She's a great actress.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, this is the first time I saw her. Everybody saw her, and she kind of became like this. I don't know. She's like She just has a great look to her, and she's just like feels like a teenager. She just like had this. She had this vibe about her that feels extremely real.
I
Doesn't
think that
feel.
she has this wonderful addition of being an astonishingly beautiful person,
Mm-hmm.
while also I love the shots of her body were not super sexualized, but she's also not
Yeah, yeah,
supermodel, you know? She's
yeah.
not
Right,
like
right.
she's very attractive, but she's
Yeah,
not like supermodel. She looks like a real
yeah.
fucking person.
Right,
So you
right.
have this relatability to her, and she also has this wonderful blend of intelligence and sadness
Yeah,
and
right.
um
Yeah,
and just complexity that she
yeah,
conveys through not very many words, which is
yeah,
you don't really get that
yeah,
very often.
yeah. Um, let's talk about. We don't even talk about like kind of the horror, the horror
Yeah,
aspect.
dude.
Like when I first saw this movie, I didn't really find it very scary. Um, but watching it this time, I think it was a lot more tense, just because I don't know. I think I just kind of like glued more to the idea of like something could always be behind you, something could always be following you, watching you. I think I just kind of like was more. I don't know. That just hit me way more this time than it had the first time I watched it. The
Yeah.
idea of like um somebody creeping on you. You don't know, man.
I
It's
find this
creepy.
I find this to be a film very the of the caliber that we were talking about with the 180 stuff,
Yeah.
where it's not really a film. I think you could miss it the first time you watch it. I think
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
easy to miss this film just
Yeah.
watching it the first time around. And I find this film I think this is one of the most effective scary horror films I've ever seen. Not because of I think that there's more scary like shit that is seen in like a David Lynch movie or like in really horrible
Yeah.
like Lars von Trier movies, whatever. You know, you can see
Yeah.
scarier shit other places.
Yeah.
But the scary thing about this is just the idea of it.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
I think that the hard thing that you have to do with this is that unlike a adrenaline rush movie like Insidious or something, which I haven't
Right.
seen Insidious, that's
Right.
just an example, or The Conjuring. I've seen The
Yeah.
Conjuring.
Yeah.
That's a good example.
Yeah.
The Conjuring, which is a great
Same
film,
example. Same
but
director. Good one.
yeah, but it's an adrenaline rush kind of
Yeah.
scare, you
Yeah.
know, where
Absolutely.
you're
Yeah.
kept on
Yeah.
your toes. And
Yeah.
this is asking you to say,
Too slow
how
burn.
would you
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
being in her shoes?
Yeah.
And the idea of me of being I'm being chased by this monster that no
Yeah.
one can see but me, and everyone will think I'm crazy if I tell them about it.
Right.
And if I ever get it away by trying to have sex with somebody, which I have to do something horrible to do that, they
Right.
might die and it might still be following me. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah. That's one of the scariest scenes in the movie when
it's like she's never safe again.
yeah. 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 It's spooky. Yeah. It's yeah. That is scary. I don't know. I guess I'm just I don't know. I I was tense watching this. I don't know. It just doesn't hit me on that like what scares me the most. I guess.
Yeah.
Like I totally understand. I totally understand what you're saying. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I like my little heart doesn't doesn't react that way. I guess.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That's
I just
fine.
find this a fun horror movie. Like I don't get like disturbed. Like 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 when I watch. I don't know why, man, but like when I watch The Shining, every time, man, there's
Yeah.
something about that movie that
My
just kind
feeling
of really freaks me out, and it's
I
kind
I
of
would
bizarre.
I would make the gamble, dude, that I think that if you keep watching this film, I think it's gonna scare you more times that you watch it. I would be willing to bet money on that.
You think?
Yeah, dude, I would. I think it's like The Shining because The Shining it's a very similar experience I have with The Shining that first couple of times I've seen it, it's kind of just not really affected me that much.
Yeah,
But like the more times I watch it, it's like it just gets under my fucking
yeah,
skin
yeah,
and that's how I find this movie the more I watch it. And it's like I don't know. I think it's also like a time and preference. I think that The Shining is crafted in a Stanley Kubrick kind of way, which is he's
yeah,
an alien, right?
yeah,
We've
yeah,
established this. He's an alien.
yeah,
David Robert Mitchell,
yeah,
made a great movie, but it's hard.
yeah,
I don't know if he's an alien
yeah,
yet.
yeah, yeah. I
We
don't
don't
think
know
so.
that. So
Yeah,
I feel
I
it
think
follows.
if we're comparing both those,
Yeah,
I think what spooks me more about The Shining is the more like you really don't know what's going on in that. Like
yeah,
there are no answers. You know what I
right.
mean? There's no like okay, we know that this is like a paranormal thing that transmits through this thing. We kind of know the rules of the
Sure,
beast. You know, The
sure.
Shining. Every time I watch it, I almost discover like a new thing that's going on in the
Sure,
movie, and
sure,
just the idea of this unknown entity, maybe we don't even know, maybe infecting this character to go crazy and kill his family, and all these other things that are going on in the hotel. We don't know what this entity is, and I think
yeah,
the unknown. I think that's what scares me the most about horror movies. Are the ones that I love are always about kind of like this is like this movie too, the kind of the unknown, like
yeah,
this idea of like this entity, this
yeah.
otherworldly thing that is controlling us,
Well,
or
yeah. Well, you bring it the point. The thing that's genius about The Shining that makes it such a wonderful horror movie is how there's no monster in it, but it's a monster movie.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
genius of The Shining, and
yeah,
that's something that it follows has that. It has a literal monster in
yeah,
it.
right,
So, like that's I think that that's something that it's hard to get anything quite like The Shining because it captures the Lovecraftian feel. But I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that I think that I think
Anyway,
I think that it follows is that Lovecraftian horror to
yeah,
me. It's that same
yeah.
kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely, totally.
and the
Yeah,
other thing I think that really creeps me out is because it's like David Lynch stuff where it's like the unpredictability of the camera is kind of the thing that scares me. And how this film when I was watching it this time, the first couple of times, which I've seen this 3 times now. The
mm-hmm.
first 2 times I saw this, it was like this is a realist film. This is happening in the real world where this monster exists. This time I watched it, this was a dream to me. This
Yeah,
time I watched it, it was a total dream film. And like I was blending in where I had this like it started the to me that this time watching it, it had this I connected I was thinking a lot more about the sexual themes happening for Jay's character
yeah,
where um I was seeing this not as a literal model as like maybe you could even argue that this is a metaphor for her dealing with the sexual abuses that she's had in her life, but
yeah,
I like more of the blending of the ideas of blending the concept of uh female sexual abuse being personified into a Lovecraftian monster. That's kind
yeah.
of the
That's something
feeling I
that
got
like
from this.
I read articles about that.
Yeah,
That's something that people have made interesting points about this movie.
yeah,
which yeah, I can totally see that too, for sure. It's kind of for me. I can't really say if I agree with that now because I just don't have enough evidence to support that.
Yeah.
But like yeah, I mean absolutely. I mean, like I can.
Yeah. Well, here's. I don't think it's a situation like Fight Club. I don't think it's a situation or
Right,
like the unusual
right.
subsets where Kevin
No,
Spacey
yeah,
is
no,
Kaiser
no, no,
Soze in
no,
the
yeah,
world.
no, no.
I don't think that that thing
Wait,
is
Kevin Spacey's Kaiser what?
spoiler. But I like I don't think that the monster is that. I think that
Yeah.
I think that those themes all exist
Oh
on
yeah,
top of each other
absolutely, totally,
because
100%.
it's and that's the thing that I find so interesting about this
Yeah,
film
I mean, I
is
think
that
that's why this movie's so great. Is like
yes,
they're like on the surface, it's this monster movie. It's just like
yeah,
ghoul, I'm going to kill you.
yeah,
But but there's a lot more going on than just that. Like what's so genius about it is that someone can watch this movie and just have fun because it's a cool ghost movie and
yeah,
like really well made ghost movie that has a lot of creepy vibes to it. Or you can lean it into kind of those sexual themes that you're talking about, which are
yeah,
clearly there, you know.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
man, yeah,
I want to hear
definitely,
some of your one of your critiques of it because I definitely have I have a lot of my personal emotions attached to this
yeah,
film because it was sort of the film that rocketed me into the horror genre,
yeah, right,
into like film soundtrack. I just 2014 was the year that I started really watching movies like in theaters and
mm-hmm,
keeping up with shit, and I credit a lot of that to this film.
sure,
So this film is very important to me
yeah,
personally,
yeah,
so I definitely do have to address my own personal bias where I like
yeah,
this film a lot more than how good it might actually be. I'm
yeah,
not
sure,
sure. So
yeah.
I'm very curious to hear about some of your critiques of it.
I think like I don't really have a lot. Like the only like critique that I would have is like I said, like I think that there is like a kind of a boring, maybe a boring quality to this movie when you get kind of towards the end of it. I think it kind of loses some steam a little bit, like towards the
Sure.
because of just the repetitive nature of it. That like, okay, we know that her friends can't see the thing. They're trying to figure out where it is. It happens like multiple times. And
Yeah.
so by the end, that you're kind of while I like the end scene a lot, like I think it's really well done in terms of like the effects and like what were going on and like the idea of it. I think Paul's kind of an idiot for just shooting the gun and shooting his the
Mhm.
the sister in the leg. I was like, what? Why are you aiming it over there? Anyway, that's like horror movie
Yeah.
character.
Well, the other thing of
But
logic about that is that they are like 14
exactly right. Yeah, that's a good point
and
too.
there is
But
a monster in a room and they're all 14
right,
and they haven't slept in a while.
that's true. But anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, like that's kind of it though. I mean, like, and also like, I mean, it's just like sometimes like the locations are kind of like
Bland.
really bland because it's
Yeah.
like they didn't have like they don't have a lot of money, so they're just kind of
Sure.
doing this in random Detroit. But like that's kind of it. I mean, I don't really have any issues. I mean, like I don't have any issues with the film. It just
Yeah.
doesn't like I don't know, man. It's just one of those things that it just doesn't hit me as hard as some other horror movies, like The Witch or something like
Mhm.
that. Like it just doesn't, and I think like maybe that is connected to like um I just don't find this movie as scary as some other people do, but I
Yeah.
find this movie like extremely well made and like have incredible respect for it.
Yeah.
I just like I don't know, it's just not like go to like Halloween movie. Like I'd rather
Yeah.
watch something like The Babadook or like
Yeah.
which that movie truly fucked me up. Like The
Yeah, that
Babadook
movie
is a
is really
movie that
scary.
fucks me up to this day.
Yeah.
And then or something like that, but it's just not my type of horror movie.
Yeah.
But
I think I
I
really
fucking
understand
love
that.
this movie. I think
Yeah.
it's great. I mean, I
Yeah.
really do. I just like, and I love the '80s vibe. I
Yeah.
love it. That's probably my favorite aspect of it is um how well he kind of homages the Carpenter stuff in this movie, where he
Yeah.
doesn't do it in a way that's corny. He doesn't do it in a way that some other movies have totally done, where
Yeah.
horror movies that since this movie that have come out that have been trying to capture that 80s, horror vibe again, but they just don't do it. This movie totally has homages to Halloween. For example, the scene in the school that is just straight up
Yeah.
when she looks out the window, that is a straight up homage from Halloween. Like
Yeah,
literally
totally.
pulled that scene from the movie intentionally, clearly.
Yeah.
Um, and so what I love that about it is that he acknowledges like, hey, I'm acknowledging Carpenter. I'm kind of I'm making I'm acknowledging that I like John Carpenter and I'm kind of making
Yeah.
something similar to that.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
I really do enjoy this movie. I just
Yeah. I
it
find that so
just
it's
doesn't make
so
me scared. It's just
I've it's so interesting to me because
but it's really good.
about like that response to the wide kind of ranges of response to it follows, because in my tastes this movie stands above most other horror movies. Like I would pick
Hmm.
this against most of them. Like
Yeah,
you mentioned a couple, like The Witch, Babadook, and It Follows are
yeah,
all like my S tier best
yeah.
horror
Right,
movies ever.
right.
But like I would really I just like It Follows so much I might watch it more than like The
Uh huh.
Witch or those other two films too.
Yeah.
And another thing about It Follows that I like is that I'm also love it not because I'm watching it as a just as a pure audience member. I'm also watching it as a maker. And I love the accessibility because it's just like, dude,
Yeah.
I can do that. That's the feeling that you
Yeah.
get when you
Right.
watch
Right.
Halloween. So that's
Right.
why I love this film. It's just like,
Right.
because to me, it's like this is just as good as The Witch or
Totally.
that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But
Yeah.
I feel like I could make that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and it's not
Yeah.
a
And I
testament
think
of that
that's
film being
another reason
bad,
why I
but
think this movie kind of exploded. I think it
yeah,
has kind of had this big response is that it's such a small indie movie that really is really well made. I mean,
yes,
like to the
yes,
point where it doesn't feel like a indie movie. I mean,
yeah,
it does, but like like a Blumhouse movie. But those movies are made for like $5-10 million. This
yeah,
is
right,
way less than that.
right.
So it's really impressive what he was able to do. Like really impressive.
I have another question for you because this is the most common critique that I have come across from the first time I saw it. My English teacher, who recommended this film to me the first time,
Hmm.
this was his criticism, and I see this come up over and over again. And I can kind of see it, but I really don't quite get it. But it's
Uh-huh.
this response to the pool scene, which you kind of mentioned it a little bit.
The ending.
So yeah, well, like the pool encounter
Yeah.
specifically, like
Yeah.
where it's her dad appears and they're throwing all the
Yeah.
electronics and
Right.
stuff.
Right. Right.
So, do you find that to be a bad scene? Because that seems to be the general census that I get from my research.
I don't think it's a bad scene. No. No, I don't. I mean, I don't think why do people say it's bad? It just
I
doesn't
I
work.
I,
It's
I
not
don't.
creepy. It's not
The thing I
like,
see about
I
it
find
is
it pretty freaky.
I do
The idea
too.
of it, well, for one, what they're doing is the dumbest idea ever. Of
Hmm.
throwing, like, electronics into a pool. Like, that's just well, that's like, they're, like you said, they're teenagers.
Yeah,
That's a, what the, that's a really weird idea.
yeah,
But, um, but no, I like that scene. Like, I like
yeah,
when, like, the effect of, like, the, the, the ghost or whatever you want to call it, like, throwing the electronics in the pool and like I like that.
yeah.
What is the critique of it? Is it just
I guess the idea. I have not heard good articulations except for the first time.
I can see
Um,
somebody being like it's kind of this climactic like I guess they could I can see someone being like, oh, it's not this like climactic
yeah,
like it doesn't reach the heights of maybe like a climactic scene that it maybe wanted it to be,
yeah,
maybe. Like I can see that because it's not like a really intense scene for me. It's not like something that I'm just kind of watching. Like I'm not really like what you should be feeling it like a climax where like you're
Yeah.
really into it. I don't know. That's my only thing though. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's
Yeah.
bad at all.
I've tried to put on a perspective where I look at that from a critical point, where I think the most people, I think my
But the way
English
they kill
teacher,
it is so cool.
yeah,
The
like
way
in
they
the,
kill it is fun.
yeah, do you mean like where it's like the blood blubbering
Yeah,
in the pool?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's awesome scene.
I
That's,
think that
that's one of
the
my
thing
favorite shots of the movie. When the
I agree. I agree. I really like that
so
shot.
cool.
I love that
That
shot.
was 80s as fuck. It was so 80s.
I guess what I hear a lot about the critique is that it was mostly unnecessary. You know, like you can take that out and you can
I
kind
can
of
see
trim
that
up the
too.
film. Yeah,
I don't
I
really
don't
get
disagree with
I
that
don't really
either.
understand like unnecessary what that really means.
Yeah.
But I
I
guess
think it's the idea. I think it's the idea of making it leaner, you know, because
sure, yeah,
what
right.
like the some of the stuff that precedes that, oh man, I'm kind of forgetting the overall structure of it because I have vivid memories of like the scenes of the encounters with the follower or it, whatever it is.
Yeah, the
Um,
follower, that's a good way to describe it.
but I can't remember like what the climactic thing, because there's sort of like periods of encounters with the follower, and
Hmm.
then development with the characters, and then it's sort
Yeah,
of
right.
transition, then being chased, and it's sort of like a progression like that. And
Yeah,
then right after this is when the film wraps up
right.
basically.
Right.
um so I don't know. I guess that like I can see where maybe that scene doesn't communicate where David Robert Mitchell wanted it to, where I don't see the significance of the father to the
Yeah.
whole.
That's true. Because when you I didn't really think it I didn't know really know it was her dad until you like kind of mentioned it.
Yeah,
Like I thought it was just kind of this guy. Like I
yeah,
was because that's the thing that I don't think I now that I think about it, I think he was trying to translate it with the multiple shots of Jay's family that are throughout the movie.
and
That are very that are
there's
very
also
odd.
yeah, and there's also one shot where after she's her first the first time where Hugh, um they have sex, and then he kidnaps her and shows her the follower. When the police officer is
Mm,
interviewing her, they show a shot of a tattoo on her finger, which is an X, and I was like, what is that?
yeah,
And
right.
the X on the ring finger is a representation of someone you've lost, which that
Okay.
connected with me. It's like, okay, she lost
Oh,
her
yeah,
dad,
God. Yeah, right.
so like
Right.
this whole situation. But that's, I think the problem with that is that that's not
That's
really
pretty
something
hard
that's,
to,
yeah.
that kind of got lost in translation a little
I
bit.
and it's like I don't feel like the movie lacks, because it's not like there's suddenly an importance to that being her dad. It's just
Yeah,
more of like an interesting subplot to me that's almost
yeah,
like an Easter egg.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
decide if
yeah,
the intention of that film was
yeah.
that the fact that it was her dad supposed to mean something significant to me, then
Right,
yes, that film failed.
right.
But that was not the agenda of the
Yeah,
film to me,
yeah, yeah, no,
that
no,
scene. So
no.
I don't know. I guess
How do you interpret the ending? I've heard like a lot of theories about that because they theoretically kill the thing, right? They
yeah,
kill it,
yeah,
and then she has sex with Paul, right? And
yeah,
then Paul says like, "Ooh, I don't feel different at all," you know. And then the last shot in the movie is like is just this shot of them kind of following
yeah.
them as they walk. Like, do you interpret that as like
Yeah.
it's still following them?
My
Like,
my interpretation is that they definitely did not kill it. I never had that
yeah,
experience that they were successful in killing it at the
yeah.
pool. And
And
I
it
had
kind
the,
of the film kind of feels that way, right? Because it doesn't
yeah,
have like when that happens, it doesn't have this like triumphant like, oh, we killed it. It's kind of just like kind of happens, you know.
yeah.
It makes sense that like it doesn't feel final that
No.
it died, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's
And I
how I
think
like
that's
to watch the
purposeful.
film. Yeah. And And I like the last shot especially. It's so brilliant because it's a person walking behind them, but it's like people walk behind everybody in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And also it's the idea that now they're always paranoid of people following them.
Right.
Which I really like that.
Right.
You know,
Cool. It's great.
another
Cool horror
factor.
movie ending.
Yes,
You
yes,
know,
exactly.
it's like, oh, it's still happening.
Yeah. Something else that I thought was really interesting about Patrick's character at that very end scene, I really, it is kind of cringy, but I really love the whole dynamic between how he lusts for Jay and this whole thing about
It's an interesting thing.
Jay, like this great, again, talking about women objectification. Jay
Yeah.
is the ultimate treasure to these
Yeah.
men in these
Yeah.
films. She is the
Right.
ultimate treasure.
Yeah.
And I find it so interesting that the ending of this film is that Patrick, is that his name? Patrick? Is that the
Paul.
name of the Paul?
Yeah.
That Paul gets the treasure, but he effectively sacrifices his life to do
Right.
that.
Right.
Which I
Yeah.
think goes to show kind of like how it's a really simple and accurate depiction of the sickness of toxic masculinity to me,
A
you
little
know.
bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
it's like, and he does it all, his sacrificing himself and ruining his own life as a way of protecting her.
Yeah.
And it's just like, is this, how safe is this going to be, you know,
Yeah.
how safe? And that was the other thing with the other guy she had sex with, which
Right.
that turned out that it's just like he didn't really believe her the whole movie, you know.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's another really great analogy to these abusive relationships where these women have these men who will just like tell them shit to have sex with them, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's definitely what Quinn, is that his name? The neighbor. The neighbor.
Greg, it's Greg.
Greg. Quinn.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely that is, yeah, for sure. That's definitely what that character is supposed to represent, for sure. 100%. Um, Paul is interesting, because to me, like, I don't really see something like that. Like, I kind of just see, like, as, you know, he liked her. And
well,
it was like,
what I see is a genuine kid who has good intentions to like
yeah,
her, who is
right.
in a toxic masculine system, who thinks that the way to pursue girls is through this method that is
Sure.
incredibly
Well,
toxic.
I think that, like, he, and I think, like, they lead into that where like for me it was kind of creepy, but like
Yeah,
the way that they kind of cut the Paul always kind of looking at her and kind of
I
like
agree.
always, it's really weirdly creepy, um but also like cute at the same time, right? It's
Yeah,
not like plot, it's just like he had a childhood crush on her,
yeah,
and that's kind of just, he doesn't like seeing her, talk to these other people,
yeah,
Um, and it's interesting that, yeah, he was, sacrificed himself basically at the end of the movie to get
yeah.
her, but for what?
Yeah. And I think that the thing to me is I think it's really interesting that pairing at the end is not like a satisfying climax. It's sort
Mm-mm,
of,
mm-mm,
it's
mm-mm.
more of like it's a whimpering
Yeah,
bonding of forces to protect themselves against
yeah,
the horror of the
yeah. It's
world.
really fucking weird.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre
And I
the way
love,
they picked how to end the movie.
and I really like also thinking about that because again, Paul is a likable character in
Yeah,
kind of an unlikable way.
yeah.
It's the best way I
His
can
name is not
describe it.
unlikable. He's just kind of like a wuss.
Yeah. Well, the
he
thing
he
is,
stands up for her, I guess.
yeah,
But
it's like he wants to be a good friend, but he just ends up being a creep most of the time.
yeah. But
And
he's just a, yeah. I think he's just kind of a wimpy. He's supposed to be kind of just like, kind of, he doesn't have any bad intentions. I think he's just this wimpy
right.
kind of kid.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Anyways, I
there's a
think
lot of great humor with him too.
like, yeah, I
Like there's
agree.
this funny scene where he's he's like, you can sleep over. It's like, no, like,
No, yeah.
on the couch.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty funny. There's some
Yeah.
like good humor in this movie,
Yeah,
and I
I love
didn't
the
notice the
banter.
first time. There's a really funny scene where like funny and like very like subtle way that the boyfriend Jake or he or whatever they're sitting in like in his yard and they're drinking like grape soda with like straws,
Yeah.
and then like he's like thinks that soccer girl is like coming for him, and he just like walks by. He's
Oh yeah.
like that
Yeah.
shit made me laugh because he was just so like like
Yeah.
freaked out about it. But
Yeah, I didn't actually find that. I didn't find that to
it
be a
was the
humor going
music
for
too.
laughs. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
It was like the build up, and
Yeah.
then it was just like walk by, and it's like okay.
Yeah.
But also the naked guy on the roof. I'm sorry, that fucking makes me die laughing. I don't know why.
I think that's so creepy.
I
I
don't
think
find it
that's one of
creepy
the,
at all.
I
He's
think that's
like a
actually,
dude with a giant bush just standing
yeah.
on the roof. Just,
That's actually one of the most unsettling shots to
really?
me. Yeah, dude. I
That's
find
so
that
funny.
so unsettling
What's unsettling about
because there's a naked man on their
it?
roof
Yeah, I guess.
and he's like he looks
He just sound, he
pale.
just, to me, he just looks like a delusional old man that doesn't know where he's going.
Isn't that creepy? Why is he on the roof?
That's funny. What you just said is funny to me. Why
Yeah.
is this crazy old man on the roof?
Yeah. I think I don't know. It still always it gets me, man. I always think
Well, the
about that
tall
shot.
man is the creepier one, dude. The
I mean,
tall
I think
man who
that's
comes out of
the
that's the
hallway.
scariest one, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the scariest. That is the scariest
That
shot of
thing's
the movie
huge.
for me.
He's
Yeah.
like 8 feet tall.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Huge. Where do you find that guy? He's literally like 7'4", that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
There's a casting call in Detroit. Any 7'4" people who want to be in this movie,
Yeah.
we need a
Yeah.
7 foot and above person to be in this movie. Not a lot of those in the world, my guy. Not a
No, there's
lot of them.
not. But there's that
Had to
guy and
hunt
he's
them
on
down.
film forever. Yeah.
Hunt him down. Also, the girl who was peeing,
Yeah,
she freaks me out
in the
too.
kitchen.
With the
Yeah.
teeth. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's scary too.
Yeah, that was a really creepy scene
Yeah.
and such a really good use of slow motion too. Slow motion and cutting
Yeah,
the
it's
sound right
really
after
interesting
that.
slow motion. Yeah, yeah, it was cool. All right, guys.
What are we watching next week, man?
I think since that we talked about one of your favorite horror movies, I was thinking about possibly doing one of mine.
Yeah.
It's more normally, but I don't really care. I think we should do Nightmare on Elm Street. We should talk about
Okay.
Nightmare
Yeah.
on Elm Street, which is like one of my favorite horror movies. Maybe my favorite one, to be honest. Um, and yeah, let's do that.
Hell
So
yeah.
we'll do that next week. Um, this movie is definitely Thicc and Butter
Yeah, dude. Thick
approved.
and butter approved.
If we do say so ourselves.
Yeah, dog.
This has been a interesting podcast.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of strange topics.
Nanny, subscribe to my OnlyFans. Watch It Follows. Think about your life, ponder your life, your future.
Yeah.
Um,
And watch Nightmare on Elm Street for next week.
Watch Nightmare on Elm Street. Have a beer.
Have a
Have a
beer.
wonderful day. Wonderful night, day, week,
Month.
month,
We're
year.
halfway through. Well, rest of your year. It can be pretty
August
okay.
2020. Go vote, please. Go vote. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Follow us on Instagram. Tell your friends, their family.
Tell your mama and
Tell
dada,
your mama, dada,
sons
brother,
and
sister.
sisters,
Your
uncles.
sons and sisters. Tell your sons and sisters. There you go. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.